When we look at Africa's greatest threats today, we have to consider that Western states can no longer directly threaten Africa, and that is because of ideas like democracy, sovereignty, and anti-fascism, all of which became popular after World War II, and where the victors, the British and the Americans, along with the French, very reluctantly, started to build their national identities around them. Basically, these nations can no longer assert power in ways that contradict the ideas of democracy, sovereignty, and anti fascism. The way a nation asserts power today is not just about having the largest arsenal or the largest army, it's about economics. The country with the richest economy will often have greater say in global matters, and that will result in greater perceived power. Neocolonialism and neo-imperialism, when European states, USA, along with other upcoming heavy hitters like Russia and China, enrich their own economies by allowing their multinational corporations to exploit Africa, as well as using the IMF and the World Bank to create the legal framework to do so. Now, where development banks like the IMF and the World Bank come in is that they began offering some extensive loans to support countries that were transitioning through colonialism into independence. In return, the indebted nation was supposed to, or was forced to, adopt the economic model of development that the IMF and the World Bank prescribed. So, industrialization, foreign direct investment, and free market capitalism, where a nation completely deregulates its economy. To give you an example of what some of these new leaders are up against once they enter into government after this kind of decades of economic stalling, they'll often inherit a state that's unable to provide public goods. So things like healthcare, quality education, sometimes even a judicial system. In high conflict areas, police force and national army sometimes is just not feasible. Absence of infrastructure like roads and bridges, irrigation systems and dams for the production of energy. Okay, so let's just break this down. Multinational corporations will have supply chains that cut across many different countries, most of which will begin in Africa with the extraction of raw materials, raw metals, or with farmed agricultural goods, and end up in high income countries for you and I to consume, either in our electronic stores, our supermarkets, our jewelers. And this way, it keeps production costs as low as possible with the highest profit margins. A multi-billion-dollar corporation enters into this kind of environment, often having an annual income 3 times the size of the African nation that they're entering into. You cannot guarantee that their business practice is going to be ethical. There's just no way to guarantee that. These giants will not only offer money in return for this land for commercial farming, licenses to explore for minerals and so on, they will often promise local jobs. They will often promise hospitals and schools in return for their direct investment. And these African leaders will give in, either because they believe naively that it will be in the best interest of their nation, or because they want to line their own pockets. The combination of the IMF and the World Bank, along with the transnational corporations, collaborating in this way has been deadly for Africa, resulting in land grabs, food insecurity, industries like telecommunications, banking, oil and gas, all of which have been strangled by foreign direct investment and has prevented local economies from developing. Not to mention the degradation to forests, the pollution to waterways through excessive mining. The human cost has already been so high with prolific child labor cases, as well as the dispossession of people's lands. And this has gone on for decades. Of course, it's going to result in political tensions and, uprisings and civil wars.